Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.
Thousands of emails sent to key coronavirus task force member Dr. Anthony Fauci are revealed. This as calls grow to probe the origins of the virus. NTD's Christina Kim has that story.
Thousands of pages of Dr. Fauci's emails obtained by BuzzFeed News and The Washington Post were published through the Freedom of Information Act, shedding light onto the early days of the pandemic. Notably, Fauci said in several emails that he was not being muzzled or censored by the Trump administration. That's contrary to some concerns and reports, which feared the health official was unable to speak the truth under former President Trump. Fauci denied this. We can also see that Fauci was receiving reports about China's potential cover-up as early as mid-March 2020. One email from a physicist voices concerns that China was misleading the world about the severity of the virus and their death toll numbers. The National Institutes of Health, or NIH, funded a $600,000 grant to EcoHealth Alliance. That group then paid the Wuhan Institute of Virology to study if bat coronaviruses were even capable of transmitting infection to humans. Fauci said the grant didn't fund gain-of-function research, which refers to experiments that aim to increase the transmissibility of pathogens.
The NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
In an email to the NIAID Principal Deputy Director, Fauci requested an urgent call about a paper describing gain-of-function research into coronaviruses. In another email from January 2020, virologist Christian Anderson brought up a possibility that a small part of the virus genome potentially looks engineered. Anderson and his colleagues found the genome inconsistent with expectations from evolutionary theory, but added that they would need to look more closely into this issue. This batch of emails comes as many news outlets are walking back earlier claims that the lab leak idea was a conspiracy theory. Some reporters and outlets said they disregarded the theory because Republicans and Trump brought it up. Now, officials are saying they're not ruling out the possibility that the virus escaped from a lab in Wuhan, and they launched an investigation into the origins. Christina Kim, NTD News.
25 states announced that they would end federal pandemic unemployment benefits soon. These governors are concerned that jobless benefits are keeping millions of American workers from getting back to work.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan said late Tuesday that he will end enhanced unemployment benefits on July 3rd. Under the current program, jobless workers get an extra $300 per week. The program will last until September 6th. Since March 2020, the state of Maryland has paid out more than $12.3 billion in unemployment benefits to over 730,000 residents. Governor Hogan said in a statement, after 12 consecutive months of job growth, we look forward to getting more Marylanders back to work. He said Maryland has a critical problem. Businesses across the state are trying to hire more people, but many are facing severe worker shortages. As of now, 22 states will end the benefits in June, and another 3 states will follow in July. Idaho Governor Brad Little said some workers are receiving more money on unemployment benefits than they would while working. He said in a statement, "My decision is based on a fundamental conservative principle. We do not want people on unemployment. We want people working." According to recent data from the U.S. Department of Labor, there are a record 8.1 million job openings nationwide.
China and the U.S. are both eyeing nuclear deterrents to target each other. As the suggestion of war hangs over the two nations, China could potentially produce 1,300 nuclear weapons by 2030, while the U.S. seeks to inject $22 billion in its own nuclear sector. NTD's Don Ma brings us more.
The possibility of a U.S. war seems to be lingering in Beijing's mind. Chinese state-run newspaper Global Times recently voiced that the regime must be prepared for an intense showdown between China and the U.S. The comments come on the heels of a speech delivered by the U.S.'s Indo-Pacific Policy Director and amid a backdrop of intensifying U.S.-China relations. Last Wednesday, Director Kurt Campbell said that the U.S. is done cooperating with China.
I think we believe that the best way to engage a more assertive China is to work with allies, partners, and friends. I think we all acknowledge that the period that was broadly described as engagement has come to an end.
According to Global Times, as America's containment of Beijing intensifies, China will turn to nuclear deterrences. Shedding light on Beijing's goal, it said the number of China's nuclear warheads must reach the quantity that makes U.S. elites shiver. But the strong tone may not present an accurate picture. In reality, China's missile capabilities may fall short of the level it wants the world to believe it's reached. A recent report by Air University Research Institute reveals that while China's missile industry has seen improvements, they're mostly incremental. Advancements are measured next to China's previous progress, but not against competitors, making it likely that Beijing is actually falling behind. The report says that for the past 20 years, China only sees breakthroughs after getting its hands on foreign technology. It's largely because of the talent attraction and retention obstacles plaguing China's missile industry. The sector is stricken with problems like low pay and harsh work conditions for scientists. Even so, China still holds a large amount of nuclear weapons in its inventory. A paper from Princeton University predicts that China could be packing 1,300 nuclear weapons by 2030. But it hasn't gone unnoticed. The U.S. Air Force is seeking to counter China's nuclear power by investing $22 billion in its own nuclear capabilities. In its 2022 budget request, it reiterated that nuclear deterrence allows the U.S. to negotiate from a position of power. Don Ma, NTD News.
President Biden met at the White House with a Republican senator from West Virginia today to discuss a possible deal on infrastructure. NTD's Steve Lance has more from the White House.
The Senate is evenly divided, so Biden is facing challenges putting together an infrastructure deal that will pass.
I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends.
Biden's press secretary Jen Psaki was asked today if the president's comments were criticizing the 2 Democratic senators.
He considers them both friends. He considers them both good working partners. And he also believes that in democracy, we don't have to see eye to eye on every detail of every single issue in order to work together.
The sticking point for Democrat Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema is the corporate tax hike that would be needed to pay for the bill. This puts them more in line with their Republican colleagues. There are a handful of Republican senators eager to make a deal, but Senator Capito was the only one chosen to meet with the president privately. Some say that this is a signature move that the president uses in order to build trust with the hope of pushing the bill forward.
I would expect at least a portion of it to be one-on-one, if not the whole meeting, but I can check on that for you too.
So far, details of the meeting have been slow to emerge. Shortly after the meeting, President Biden departed the White House for his vacation home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He did not respond to reporters' questions. Steve Lance, NTD News, Washington, D.C.
And Iran's largest Navy ship sank on Wednesday after catching fire in the Gulf of Oman. The crew are all safe. Let's hear more.
Iran's biggest Navy warship sank on Wednesday. The country's highest tonnage Navy vessel, known as the Karg, caught fire in the Gulf of Oman near the port of Jask, where it was on a training mission. All of its crew members disembarked safely following rescue operations that went on for hours. But efforts to save the ship itself were unsuccessful and it sank, according to Fars news agency. No further explanation has been given for the latest incident in the region of sensitive waterways, though there have been accusations of attacks on ships owned by arch-enemies Iran and Israel there in the past. Iran has refused to recognize Israel since the Islamic Revolution in 1979 that toppled the US-backed Shah. And Israel sees Iran's nuclear program as a threat to its existence. Both parties have claimed they were targeted by the other in the last few months.
One man says he spent over half a decade fighting with the mother of his children over their son, James. James's mother is trying to transition him to being a girl and plans to start James on puberty blockers. He recently turned 9. NTD's Sapphire Corder has the story.
When Jeff Younger first heard the mother of his children treating his then 3-year-old son James like a girl, he was surprised, never having thought he was anything but a boy. The mother has repeatedly taken Younger to court because she claims she has the right to help James transition physically to a girl.
I think we should just simply wait until the boy grows up and see what he wants to do. And I don't think we should take any irreversible actions. Puberty blockers are not reversible.
James's mother began thinking her son might be a girl when he was 2 years old.
Well, the court testimony that we have is that she began thinking this when he selected a girl's toy for a McDonald's Happy Meal. And then he liked a sparkly silver purse in Target. And at that point, she started thinking he might actually be a girl.
He says his son only acts like a girl around his mother, acting like a normal boy around everyone else. He says he sees James enjoying high-contact sports like boxing and flag football. Despite a court order saying that James is legally a boy, his school treats him like a girl, calling him female pronouns, and even had him change into a dress.
It's literally like watching your child be slowly tortured to death, knowing that he's headed toward physical castration. And the courts are inexorably letting it happen, step by step by step, and refusing to stop it. The schools won't stop it. The cowardly psychologists won't stop it.
Younger is not the only one concerned. Kevin Witt lived as a woman for over 20 years. Witt ended up on the streets and became a prostitute. He later discovered the Bible and became a Christian. And now he calls being transgender a sin.
Then I just started praying and I said, God, if you're as powerful as you say you are, then you're the only one that has the power to take away these desires from my heart. And then over time, slowly but surely, my heart started to change.
He gave up his lifestyle and is now a full-time political activist. He says mostly he wants to protect children. Witt is against medical reassignment for children because he says they don't have enough information to make that decision.
I have lived the trans lifestyle, and this lifestyle is no place for a child. It's just not. And if you want to be trans, that is fine, but wait until you're 18 years old to do it, because you have no idea. Your brain is not even finished developing until you're 25.
As for Younger, with another court date on the horizon, he says he'll do whatever it takes to protect his son from genital mutilation. Sapphire Quarter, NTD News.
A video shows a brave teen in California shoving a bear off her property after spotting it swatting at her dogs. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
A teen in the San Gabriel Valley is shown in a video pushing a bear off a ledge in order to save her dogs. 17-year-old Haley says that she didn't have time to think and just reacted when she saw the black bear leaning into her backyard. The video shows the bear swatting at one of their smaller dogs. Haley runs over and pushes it away as it falls back off a ledge. She then grabs one of the dogs and runs to safety. Later in the video, some cubs are spotted with the bear. It's likely that the bear was trying to protect her cubs. Fortunately, there were no major injuries and Haley got away with only a sprained finger and scraped knee. Looking back at the incident, Haley says she probably wouldn't have done the same thing. She says, "Don't do what I did. Don't get near bears. Don't push them off ledges because you might not be as lucky as me." Haley's mother says they usually see bears in the neighborhood a couple times a week, but this is the first time they had one on their property. Jason Blair, NTD News, California.
Navigating a world of economic madness, you need to have the right guide. What do today's decisions mean for your tomorrow? We ask why. What's the alternative? Uncover the deeper reasons and the hidden influences, and highlight the real opportunities for profit. At NTD Business, we connect the dots for you. Good evening. Thanks for joining us.